Welcome back, family, to another episode of Spiritually Speaking, where we get down to the spiritual nature of just about everything. Now, I am going to mix it up for you guys. I don't want to get too deep on you too quick. So let's mix it up this week and talk about something everybody loves to talk about: relationships. Okay, so how do you keep score in relationships? Unfortunately, we have a habit of keeping score in just about everything in life, not just relationships. But let's dive into relationships specifically. So, before we can talk about how we keep score within relationships, your intimate relationships with other people, etc., right? Let's talk about how we end up keeping score before the relationship begins. I see this all the time, all over the internet, in personal conversations. Men do this, women do that. So let's kind of dive into it further. Too often we hear conversation after conversation about people keeping score. So why relationships don't work? Well, it's because the men step out and cheat. They don't stay and build their families. They aren't honest when they come into relationships. They're being performative just to get some of you know what off as many people as they want to, etc., etc., etc. And then oftentimes we hear the conversation from men that women are in relationships because their standards are too high, or they don't know how to be traditional women. They don't do the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of the house, the children, etc., like grandma and grandpa used to do. There's so many different arguments and conversations around relationships. So I had to dive in, y'all, and give my 2 cents opinion because you know it's going to be a deep one, right? So, first and foremost, we could sit here and kind of do the relational gymnastics, if you will, all day long. Men lie, men do this, women do this, etc., etc., etc. Even when we're talking about non intimate relationships within family dynamics or friendships, women are catty, that's why I don't deal with women, or men just be hating, that's why I don't. Right? We've all heard those different situations and circumstances play out in conversations all over the place. But why aren't we talking beyond that step? Why aren't we taking it to the next step? Okay. So, of course, me being me, I feel like the conversation needs to go a bit further, right? So, we know at the end of the day, we could sit here and calculate how much people have done wrong or what goes into it. We could even discuss how plantation politics plays a major role within relational dynamics, specifically between Black men and women, but we won't be going there today, okay? I want to take the conversation a step further. So instead of calculating who's done this, who's done wrong, where can we go right? So how can we not only move the conversation forward, but how do we change the narrative in our minds going into these relationships to foster healthier relational dynamics between each other? So, whenever we're trying to address a problem, we got to get real. And y'all know what they say, admitting is truly the first step. So, we have to admit there's a problem with keeping score within relationships. I also feel like this kind of scorekeeping heavily affects how people behave within relationships. So now you feel enabled to do XYZ because women are this and men ain't that, right? How many times have we seen this in our relationships, whether in your personal relationship or the people around you? We can always learn from other people around us as well. So my thing is, instead of playing the blame game on who's done what to who, where, when, how, and how much, let's instead move the conversation forward and talk about how we can get it right instead of focusing on how much we've got it wrong thus far. Start to pay attention to the conversations you're hearing about relationships, even if you're not in relationships. Oftentimes, the conversation is stemmed around what the other person could be doing better. However, if you know, like I know, if you're always focused on what could be better and you're not appreciating what you already have, then how can you successfully grow to a space with that person? Okay, so let's get to it. Beyond the scorekeeping, what can we do to get things right instead of calculating what we always got wrong? So, listen, we already know, especially in the Black community, the things that have been stacked against us since the beginning of time in regards to our relationships, right? The government incentivizing government assistance to push the Black man out of the house, and then drugs coming into the Black community and messing things up for the family dynamic as a whole. We know all that. We could always take it all the way back to plantation politics and how those dynamics played a part in it as well. However, we have the information now. So instead of just harping on the information, harping on what's wrong, how about we figure out and decide how to make it right? First and foremost, we have to recognize and understand that this is just yet another trick by the system to keep us separated. As long as we're harping on what won't go right, what hasn't went right, where we went wrong, this person's fault, tallying up the scores against each other, we are steadily pitted against each other. And at the end of the day, we will never come together to work together like man and woman were intended to do so, right? So instead of falling into that trap, we need to focus on furthering the conversation to a better place on how we can proceed in a positive manner. Instead of talking about what you don't want in a relationship, how about you focus on what you do want in a relationship? Instead of focusing on the negative qualities of those people that you want to entertain a relationship with, how about you focus on the positive qualities said group, right? So, for instance, if you're running around claiming all men are dogs, well, you're going to attract that certain energy towards you because, listen, at the end of the day, your perception shapes your reality. So, what's going to end up happening is you are going to very subconsciously attract those certain people towards you because the brain has to be right. So, it's kind of that self fulfilling prophecy where you have trained yourself, your mind, and essentially your spirit to believe a certain thing. So it's calling in that type of energy. You are on a low vibrating frequency and vibration, right? So you are going to naturally attract things that are low vibrational and on that frequency. Yeah, okay, all men are dogs. So that energy is going to be pulled to you so that, yeah, that perspective can be true for you. We shape our reality by our perception. So you have to be careful in not only in the things that you're saying, but the things that you're choosing to believe, right? Even though you're not saying it out of your own mouth, are you quietly co signing and agreeing to these certain mindsets or ideals when other people are discussing it, whether in your real life or online? We see a lot of these conversations play out online, and unfortunately, it has shaped everyone's opinion on everything. The hot topics around the relationships for a long time, even currently, is 50-50 relationships. Should we go 50-50? No, a man should pay for everything. Women that expect men to pay for everything are gold diggers. All women are gold diggers. The conversation goes on and on and on instead of understanding and recognizing that it's a kind of get in where you fit in type of energy. Ask yourself that question. For instance, if you're someone who prefers a 50-50 relationship, whether you're a man or a woman, then it's simple. Just find someone who aligns with that type of mindset. They also want a 50-50 relationship. Where we sort of clash in these relationship dynamics is coming into it trying to change a person, right? All because of your ideas, beliefs, and mindsets around whatever relationship dynamics, right? So you might believe that it's best to go 50-50 in a relationship. You then can't get in a relationship with someone who expects it to be the man paying for everything. You need to get with someone who's equally yoked, who believes the same things about relationships. They also believe 50-50 is the best way to go. Where we sort of clash in relationships is when we're trying to change other people's perspective, outlook, and mindset on different things, especially their behaviors. If you don't like how someone behaves and operates within a relationship, then it is your duty to one, opt out of that relationship, or two, set firm boundaries so that you can remain comfortable while remaining in that certain dynamic. The same thing goes for people who believe that one person should be providing more than the other. Maybe you believe it should be 60-40. Maybe you believe it should be 100-100. Everybody gives 100% of their best 100% of the time. Find someone who is like minded with you. Yet, instead of doing that, finding someone who's equally yoked, who is similar in their wants and needs, in their perspectives on relationships and how those different dynamics should play out, we are sitting podcast after podcast, conversation after conversation, having the same circular conversations that get us nowhere. So I'm going to be the one to help y'all out. Listen, y'all are wasting so much time arguing back and forth on what is right and what is wrong. The conversation needs to be what is right for you. That's why half of these relationships are not working because everybody's too focused on everyone else's opinion of what you should be doing in your relationship. Oh, this podcast said I should be doing this. Oh, this relationship expert said this, or this person said that. It does not matter if it does not align with your personal goals, where you want to go in your relationship, how you see those things playing out for you and your family unit. If it's not in alignment with that, then it does not matter what other people are doing in their relationships. We are wasting so much time focused on having the wrong conversations. It truly does not matter. 50-50, 100-100, 10-90, 80-20, it does not matter. At the end of the day, get with someone that you like who has the same ideas and mindsets as you in regards to relationships. So, as a woman, if you feel like men should be paying for everything, then you need to date a man who is comfortable with paying for everything instead of trying to argue and bicker with men who simply are not on that level, do not believe in that type of mindset, and quite frankly, they frown upon it. While there's men out there who are willing to provide everything for a woman because that is their ideal relationship. And the same goes for men. If you believe that a woman expecting you to pay for all things or majority of things is a gold digging type of situation, then stay away from the women who expect that. Okay? It's kind of get in where you fit in. Find someone who is on the same playing field as you, who believes the same thing as you, who has the same goals in mind, and who has that same mindset. It's very simple. Yet we spend so much time pointing the blame at each other, saying one another is wrong when it's simply a difference of perspective. And then when we get into relationships, we're still keeping score, right? Listen, your relationship is yours alone, and you cannot tailor that relationship around other people's mindsets and ideals. It is very unhealthy to go into relationships with all these different preconceived notions. One, have the clearing, honest conversation with yourself before you get into any relationship with anyone, friendships included. What am I willing to tolerate? What am I not willing to tolerate? What are my boundaries? What are some things that are absolute deal breakers? What are some things you can compromise on? What type of person do you honestly need in your life? How would you realistically like your relationship to go? And then be honest with the person you're coming into relationship with. What are your expectations for the person in an intimate relationship? What are your expectations for people within friendship dynamics? Are you a low maintenance friend or partner? Do you require not a lot of attention, a lot of personal space, a lot of alone time? Are you the type of person where you don't have to communicate every day, but when you do communicate with your friends, it's like no love lost, no time lost? You can kind of pick up where you left off type of energy. Or are you someone who requires a higher level of care within relationships? Again, there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to be clear on who you are, what you expect, and be clear and communicate that with the people you're in relationship with. Regardless, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about you, how you feel, your perspective, and it's just your job to clearly communicate that with anyone you're in relation with. What are the expectations? What are the parameters? What are the guidelines? What exactly are we doing? I mean, listen, take it all the way to what is your 5 year plan if you have to see if you are aligned with people, specifically in intimate relationships. Oftentimes, we get into relationships and we are keeping score on one another secretly, mind you, and tallying up these things based on our individual expectations that we have not communicated with each other. So we're over here in our separate corners tallying up, okay, he did this wrong, she did that wrong, she didn't do this, she didn't clean this, he didn't go there, he didn't do this, he didn't buy this. Expecting people to meet expectations that one, you're not even clear about, and two, you certainly haven't communicated with anyone else. How unfair is that? This is something that's very common yet very rarely discussed. And why is that? We need to get into the deeper conversations. Communicate clearly your expectations, what you want for yourself first. How would you like your life to go? And clear that up before you try to implement any other person into this plan of yours. Listen, relationships are difficult enough as it is. What we definitely don't need to add to the table is a list of uncommunicated expectations that we're expecting other people to live up to and holding it against them when they fail to meet up to our expectations that we haven't communicated them. And then to add insult to injury, we have people out here who are actually keeping score behind the scenes and then using that information to shape their behavior within the relationship. So now they are using this invisible scorecard that you know nothing about to enable them to do different things within the relationship. Okay, so now it's okay if I cheat because you're not doing XYZ, you're not meeting all these different requirements. It's okay if I step out of the relationship or marriage to get attention or affection or money or love or whatever it is because you're not meeting my expectations. Yet, if your expectations were communicated earlier in the relationship, this person might have been able to let you know, listen, I'm willing to do 1 through 3, but 4 through 10, that's a little bit too much. Or you guys could have come to some sort of compromise. At the end of the day, you may have decided earlier on to not even be in relation with this person. So that is why it's imperative to come in any type of relationship being your most authentic and truthful self, because at the end of the day you want someone who is truly aligned with you, and you can't do that if you are being performative, if you're not communicating what exactly it is that you want and expect out of your partner and the relationship as a whole. The main thing that we need to discuss is the lack of goals for the relationship. We have so many men talking about being a leader in the relationship, but where is our intended destination? Don't worry, I'll wait. Too often, we find ourselves in a situation where you want to be a leader, but you have no destination in mind. You have no plan in mind, okay? So even if you say you want to get married, have kids, white picket fence, own properties, whatever it is, whatever may have you, what are the actual individual steps to get us to actually accomplishing all of those goals within your plan? Do you have that sort of mapped out, or are you just going with the flow? I guess what I'm really saying here is we have to be more intentional about who we are, what we want, where we want to go, what we want life to look like. It is our job to create our reality. At the end of the day, you have to be intentional about every single thing that you're doing, specifically within relation to other people. How are your relationships getting you to the places you want to go? Let's look at it like this: relationships actually being ships that are intended to take you somewhere, right? So, where is your destination? So, what you need to be asking yourself is, where exactly would you like this ship to take you? What are you looking for? Something casual, something long term, something to just provide you financial stability? Are you looking for true companionship, kids, etc.? Whatever it is, where would you like to go? And understand, just like a ship, if you have no intended destination, then where are you going to go? You're going to end up in cruise control. You're going to end up stranded with no direction. So you have to be clear on the direction you're trying to take things. Let's be real for a second. You're not getting on any ship and you don't know the intended destination. So understand also, it is your responsibility to communicate with your partner to see where that intended destination is. Just because you're in a relationship with a man and you expect that man to be a leader, you still have to have the conversation about where this is going and why. Also, as a man or leader in the relationship, you cannot get upset when someone asks, where are we going? What is the intended destination? Because at the end of the day, a leader communicates clearly and effectively to their team. So everyone is on the same page. And also, if you're someone who wants to build a true, authentic, healthy connection and partnership, you want to communicate clearly what your expectations are, where you're intended to go, all of those things that go into the dynamic, because as your partner, she or he may see something that you have not seen, right? If what they say is true, the man is supposed to be the head and the woman is the neck. It is my job to ensure that you're going to swivel at all times and to help you see things from alternative vantage points, right? Everyone has their role within a relationship. Now, if you want somebody who's absolutely useless, then communicate that as well, right? There are some people who would love to be in a relationship and let someone pull all the strings and make all the decisions and kind of lead the ship to where it's supposed to go with minimal effort from themselves, right? But many of us like to have our opinions heard, like to know that our concerns are genuinely heard, but can also contribute our specific qualities to the relationship as well. So that's another topic of discussion. What do you bring to the table? That's something we hear so much in conversation regarding relationships that it is quite mind boggling how people aren't getting past this step. Let's face it, too many people are quietly judging what you bring to the table, but they're still sitting there eating the plate at the end of the day. So let's stop keeping score about what people bring to the table. Listen, it's your own personal responsibility to get to the table, see what's being offered on the menu, and if it's not something you find satiating to your appetite or palate, honey, I'm gonna need you to exit stage left and find a table more befitting to your taste. Because if I'm not serving specifically what it is that you want, then please feel free to go find someone else who is. It's very simple. But yet we have people remaining at the same tables they claim are leaving them unfulfilled while still sitting there trying to have their cakes, their cookies, and pies too. Like, let's be for real. Let's call a thing and say what it is. And then they will really remain there until they leave that table completely depleted and then move on to another and another and another, while still exclaiming how this one table left them unfulfilled, but they ate everything that was served. Okay? and keep coming back begging for more, but I'm not here to judge, okay? As I said, this is one of those conversations we definitely need to dive into, okay? So if you don't take anything else from this conversation, definitely explore how you are keeping score within your relationships and how that affects your behavior within those said relationships. As always, continue to come and go in love and light. Please pursue your purpose, not just paychecks, because purpose is what provides your provision. And last but certainly not least, you definitely want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And until next time, peace, y'all.